being Kerry, who is going to teach us how she sold $1 million worth of consumer medical devices. And I will start our conversation with, we found one another online, and I clicked on your profile, and I looked at your site, and I thought, yeah, I can't help her. This is, I don't see, I just saw someone who invented something, and I'm sure it helped people. And I said, I have no idea how she would scale this. And then she's like, no, I'm good. I sell $1 million worth. And I was like, could you show me how? And here we are.
Yeah.
So teach us, teacher, please teach us.
Very nice to be here. Well, I have to start by saying I didn't do it by myself. I have two sisters who are my partners. And when I came up with the idea, I enlisted their help. I was a costume designer for 35 years. I just retired last year. So for the first I've been doing this for about 5 years now with the Easy Hold product. And I invented it 5 years ago. So for the first,
so our friends online do not know what the Easy Hold product is.
Okay, well, the Easy Hold product is an assistive grip device. It's super simple. It's made of silicone, and it comes in many different sizes. So I'm going to show you what one of them looks like, made of silicone. And this is a large Easy Hold. And this can wrap around any kind of an object, from something as small as a pen, pencil, or a stylus. Here it is on a marker, all the way to a tennis racket, or a baseball bat, or a golf club. So the reason I came up with the idea is we were talking earlier about being cowboys. And I have lived on a ranch my whole life, and worked hard as a costume designer, building costumes, designing different creative things with all kinds of different mediums. And my hands kind of wore out after 35 years. So when I was working with my horses one day, I went out to sweep the barn for a party I was having. And I grabbed the broom, and my thumbs locked up. Now, let's see, when I invented this, I was about 58, I guess, or so. I'm 62 now. And at the time, I could tell that arthritis was kicking in. And I had a party coming very closely on my heels. So I took some tape, duct tape, and made a loop on my broom. And when I was holding the broom with my hand in that broom and the duct tape, I'm thinking, wow, this really does give me a little bit of leverage. And I wonder if there's anything out here for we baby boomers who are, want to stay active. I had remembered back when I was in my early 20s, a professor had given me the Briggs-Stratton test to see what kind of occupation I would be happy, and what kind of a job and career I might have. And they had, we did the test, and they came up with designing for television and motion pictures, or occupational therapy. So at the time, I went into assist and volunteer at Northridge Hospital Medical Center with the spinal cord injury wing. And I learned all about assistive devices at the time that would help people to eat and sculpt and brush their hair, all kinds of daily living activities. And the kind of things from as simple as an elastic band to robotic hands and arms. Now, at the time, all they had were elastic bands and Velcro, things that you could hold a fork and maybe a pencil with. But they didn't use them very often in the hospital because they were not sanitary. So they didn't really supply them or pass them around. Pardon me?
What is an ADL?
Activity of daily living. So anything you need to do every day, like brush your teeth, your hair, hold a spoon, a fork, a cup, anything you do during the day is you need an ADL for activity and daily living.
I want to ask, and I'm sure you know the answer, but I'm gonna, let's see, I need to stop sharing, I think, to find this. Where would I look? I want to ask a regulatory person. Let's get Larry. Hey, Larry.
Yes.
Is this a medical device?
No, I don't believe so.
Is it a class 1, exempt, anything? I mean, look at the way it's,
It's a class 1 medical
Yes, we
device.
offer cure, treat, or prevent disease or body condition. And this I see is uh, gosh, I don't know. I don't see it interacting in any way to treat a disease or anything. It's an
I'm
assistant.
going to make you a panelist, so you're going to disappear for a second.
Yeah.
And Terry, I'm sure you knew that answer. I just, if you don't know Larry well, he's former FDA and now he's muted himself somehow.
Mhm. Well, when we got our CE mark and when we sell, we need to classify it as a class 1 medical device.
Well, I could say it's similar to a crutch. In other words, you know,
Well,
a crutch.
surely a
Yeah.
crutch is a medical device.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's
I was speaking out of the top of my head. Now that I think about it more, some regulators would probably consider that a medical.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, I mean, if you got distribution at Walmart, you wouldn't put it as, I really don't know. When it gets like this kind of thing, I get very, is it, isn't it?
Mhm.
What kind of rules? Is it 510K? Is it exempt? I don't really,
Mhm.
Michelle taught me once before what exempt really means, but to me it means like, oh, don't worry about it. But it's not as simple as, oh, don't worry about it. There's no regulation here.
There's definitely regulation because one of the biggest purchasers, or two of the biggest purchasers, are schools for special needs classes and therapy centers. So these easy holds are not only going on a toothbrush or a pen, but they're going on to canes, walkers, gait trainers. They're going on to wheelchair handles, bicycle handles. They're going on to apparati in rehab hospitals to help people lift weights, to help people walk, to move. So even though I invented it for something as simple as my own broom, it's now being used and carried in therapy centers, hospitals, and educational facilities. And when I guess, yes, it would be lovely if I didn't have to classify it as a class 1 medical device because it would make it a lot less expensive to ship and to certify and for approval. But
what kind of cost did that add?
Pardon me?
What kind of cost that did?
It actually adds costs to VAT fees, to our to get the CE mark, to make sure that it is safe in other countries in the EU. And it would be wonderful if I could just classify it as a toy or a rubber band, but I cannot, even though it's something as simple as a rubber band.
Well, I've got some good news for you. Mark, go ahead and tell her what you told me.
About what? Remind me.
You just wrote me as a message.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, first of all, fantastic. It's brilliant. And my wife has RA, and I'm buying. I'm getting
one who don't know what RA means. It's
rheumatoid arthritis, so
Right.
she has a hard time. Plus, the regulatory person I work with here in town, Deb Hudson, also has problems. So I'm going to share your website with everybody. I mean, this is like
it's really
brilliant.
simple. So here it is on a fork. Yeah. And
Yeah.
for someone with arthritis, this is something that is a game changer, something you can carry in your pocket when you go out to eat, something you can put onto anything. And previously in the past, there have only been these little devices that are made of Velcro that you basically have to strap onto your hand, which is not comfortable, not sanitary, and it doesn't hold very much. You know, here it has a paintbrush, but try and get anything else in there.
Yeah, and she bought all these. Sorry, she bought all these special gardening tools.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
I mean, this is like a game
Yeah,
changer.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it really
You're a
is.
little
Yeah.
foolish now, having not brought this up before, but any and all sales that you make during the presentation, I get 50% of any
Yes,
profit.
you do. In fact, I was going to
Embarrassed
do.
to bring it up on the call. Felt very cheap about it, but I should have covered that. And I didn't see this happening. We've never had anyone actually sell an MRI machine or anything like this during one of these. So I just wasn't.
We do have affiliate links, Joe. You can become an affiliate.
How much do the affiliates get?
Would they get 12%? But I was also thinking about making a coupon code for 20%, Hage 20% off. How's that?
Okay, well, we can come up with a better name for it, but yes, I'm sure there's 40% you just saved, 20 and 20 for your friend and your wife.
I'll help you out there with it.
Okay.
So it is a medical device,
Yeah.
and therefore you had to do, when you went to market, when you came up with the idea, you made it just for yourself?
Well, you know, I not really. I made it for the baby booming population because we were going to have the largest amount of adults and senior citizens on the planet. So when I experienced this pain in my thumb and saw how easy it was to hold my broom, my sisters came over and we discussed how we could start a business together. My one sister is a early educator. She's been a director of early education for several schools for 35 years. My other sister is a chef and a fine artist. And as a costume designer, we got together and with our skills, bootstrapped this company and decided what we could do with it. So my sister as a teacher was familiar with special education classes and the needs there. My other sister, who is a fine artist, did all our patent drawings and was able to actually envision what it was I wanted. And then we are all very, very crafty people. So we went and learned all about silicone, pouring, molding, coloring, mixing, curing, and actually made about 1,000 prototypes in my kitchen that we took to start with, we took to a swap meet. Now, none of us had medical degrees, of course. So how did we get our product out there? We tried to call therapists and doctors, but they wouldn't take our call. There was no protocol, you know, for a designer to just come in with something like this. So we initially took it to a flea market, laid it out on the table. We put it on drumsticks, forks, hammers, toothbrushes, electric toothbrushes, and just laid it out and saw who came by. And on that day, there were nurses, doctors, special educators, teachers, and each one of them that came by said, I have a student, I have a patient that could use this now. We weren't selling, but at that time we were handing out samples, homemade prototypes. So that is how we got our initial clients to trial our product. When we did want to reach out directly to specific hospitals and doctors, we had to actually go camp out in the hallways, waiting for them to come out for lunch. And we would pop out with our fork, with our assistive device.
You were like sitting in the hospital lobby?
Yep.
And be like, hey, there goes a doctor, give him one of these things?
Absolutely. We stood in the there.
Talk about grassroots.
It really was.
Hey, lady, I'm on my break. What do you?
No. We didn't have that once. I have several patients right now, several spinal cord injury patients, several patients who have just had a stroke.
Okay,
I mean,
so was it just anyone who looks like a doctor gets handed one of these things?
No, we would go into
that you targeted.
We targeted the specific floor for spinal cord injuries, for strokes, for assisted living. We would go to that source and first we'd hit up the receptionist. First we'd make a phone call, no go. Then we'd hit the receptionist, no go. And then we'd stand in the hallway. And when someone walked out, we ambushed them. And no one turned us down. Everyone loved it. Everyone needed it. Parkinson's, ALS, arthritis.
I just can't help but laugh that in all of my years of advising people, I've never thought of or encouraged the ambush strategy.
It's a fantastic strategy. Well, you know, there has been a great lack of low-tech assistive devices. Now, you know, Velcro was invented 50 years ago, and that is the last advancement in a universal cuff since Velcro. So 50 years, it has not been changed in any way. Now, we've been using silicone in our kitchens for about 10 years now, 15 years maybe, something like that. So it's about time to be able to use silicone for an assistive device. People who have been wanting to hold an object have had to go and buy a $5,000 robotic arm, or their other option is a strap of Velcro or elastic. And there had to be something in between. And as a designer of costumes, which I've worked with a lot of different medium, I had an idea for myself first, and it needed to be something that was kind of sticky on the hand, that you didn't have to be tight, and you could throw it right in the dishwasher, you know, and wash it. So silicone came to mind. And we need more low-tech devices for people with special needs and the disabled.
Eddie, you had a question. Can you speak?
Yeah. What's your patent position?
We have two patents. We have a utility and a design patent. It was interesting when we went to get the patent. Now, this is a woman-owned business, and there's always a little bit of challenges when you're a woman-owned startup.
Actually, I thought you were going to say the opposite. That is, of course, I'm very ignorant in the space, being the wrong gender for it, but I thought that there were special allowances, permissions. You apply to be a woman-owned business, that there are benefits to doing that. Can you educate us about that?
Okay, yeah, it was really eye-opening from the start when we just wanted to go get our patent. Now, as professional women, there are maybe 1 out of 10 patent attorneys are females, if that. So I got a list of patent offices, went to about 6, and they were all men at the patent offices, these different patent offices. And I mean, I wasn't picking a specific gender. I was picking just local offices in the Southern California area. And each time I went and spoke, they were all men. I showed them the prototype. I showed them the drawings. I showed them what they could do. And each one of them said, I don't really think this is relative. I don't think that this is something we could get a patent for. It's too simple. I don't see the relevance. I don't see how it would work or make a difference. So this was about 6. Then the 7th, I specifically looked for a female. I found a female about 2 hours away in Ventura County. Went to her, we all laid out our things. And she said, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is amazing. I have a daughter who has autism. I used to work for the silicone industry for breast implants as an attorney. I can see the relevance. I've been a caregiver for my parents, my aging parents. She said, this is fantastic. Let's get this patent. And in 18 months, we had 2 patents. So she saw the relevance.
What is the patent? What is it?
The patent is actually for a silicone device. Even though it looks really simple, it has a design on it that enables it to mold over the hand like this. It's thicker on the ends, it's thin here. Each strap has its own tensile strength and durometer so that it lays across the object in a way that's most beneficial for a toothbrush or a size for a drumstick or a size for a tennis racket. So it does have a size and a shape to it. It has a durometer, a certain stretch that makes it different from, like, say, can you imagine the old Coke can, the plastic Coke can holders where you would put 6 Coke cans in it? And it would
like a coolie, they call them?
No, just the thing.
No, the carrier thing.
The carrier that holds
When you get
Coke cans, right. So you peel that plastic off. Well, that had a patent. That looks really simple. And actually, that was a patent that we kind of had to defend our patent against, because we showed them our patent, the strap like this. They said, well, what's the difference between a soda pop can holder, you know? And so we had to explain the shape of the design, the durometer, the strength, the stretch, the elasticity. So all of those things require a patent. Otherwise, you can just take this idea and run with it. And then the design patent itself covers the shape, the sizes, the materials, the colors. And yeah, you needed 2 patents.
And I take it doesn't kill birds as effectively as the other ones.
Doesn't kill birds.
Oh, that's what you're talking about.
Yes, I could see that Joe still wasn't getting it. So
I wasn't getting it, but now bird killing I get. Can you see my screen now or no? I'm unclear.
I can see you.
I can see you.
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
No.
No. Okay. Have you ever been able to see my screen?
Once, yeah.
All right. Well, I wanted to. Yeah. Okay. There we are. I wanted to show this to folks who haven't found it yet. So it's easyhold.com.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
these
I really, can you help me understand? I mean, this. Yeah. I'm just like, so what's the why? What are the differences in the hole sizes?
I will show you. Okay. So see the little yellow one?
Yes.
The little yellow one would hold a pen, a pencil, a baby spoon, a baby
Okay.
fork. So there's I haven't even talked about this part of it, this aspect. Yeah, it's all well and it's all good for someone with arthritis, Parkinson's, ALS. But really, we started, an idea that we had for adults was quickly taken over by pediatric use. By far, we sell 90% of our products for pediatric use because children are born with disabilities every day. And because every child is able to be, saved from traumatic injuries, there are a lot of children with grip disabilities. So our product helps a child hold his first teether, his first bottle, his first spoon, its first rattle. There are children
Your
born.
inspiration, right? You wanted something for your broom.
Mm-hmm. But now, 90% of our product is sold to pediatric therapy centers and special education classes. We're in about 8,000 pediatric centers and special education classes. In my little unified school district, over Christmas, they bought $22,000 worth of easy holds for their new semester, their new school year. And it's for holding everything a child needs to hold that might have difficulties if they have cerebral palsy, pediatric stroke, and any of the other disabilities that a child might have which prevents them from a reliable grasp. And this is because it's made of silicone, it's non-toxic, it's easy and soft on their skin, and it's also fun and colorful. So it's just like a handle on any other toy. So the impacts it's made in the pediatric world has been really significant because up until this time, there has been nothing to aid a child with cerebral palsy or a brain injury or spinal cord injury to hold anything at all. So if an infant can hold from infancy a rattle and have that ability to shake it or bring it to their mouth, the learning curve is incredible. I mean, the hand-eye coordination and the ability to, the cognitive functioning is improved immediately because of that hand-eye coordination and the ability to do for themselves.
I tell you, I'm breathless about this because I think to myself, this is so simple.
Yeah.
You've got a piece of plastic here with 2 holes on the end.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, if I ever went to Beth and I said, honey, I came up with this idea. Why don't we get this piece of plastic with 2 holes on the end? We're going to be millionaires. She would have been like, Joey, could you just...
Well, that is the secret, it's the secret of invention and innovation. People say, oh, I can't think of something new. But innovation is not new. Innovation is taking something old and something new and putting them together. So I took the old assistive cuff, which is just Velcro and fabric, and turned it into an invention and innovation by using silicone, which is a fairly new material and something that, doesn't harbor any bacteria and that is safe for all skin. So it's these 2 things which made an invention. And those opportunities are around every corner. And as a designer, I think all day long as I go about my business, I think, oh my gosh, I could do this better. I could do this better. But I have, like many people, occupational therapists tell me, why didn't I think of this? Because they're in a very full career. They're in a career that takes up every moment of their time from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night. I was in a business that I actually had hiatuses. So as I was winding down my career, every 3 weeks I'd have a week hiatus. And on that time, I really was thinking to myself, I want to retire in 2 years. How am I going to do that? So I started looking at things differently. How can I innovate this object? For me, this was the mother of invention because I needed it for my broom. So, something you need every single day is find a better way to innovate it. And
it's just that, I'm sure, Jonathan, I'm sure, he takes himself off mute, that he's had an experience very much like mine, probably Larry too, where people are coming to him I once wrote a story about a urologist who had already blown $1 million on his invention. 300,000 of his own money, 700,000 of friends and family. And he comes to me and he says, Joe, can you help me? You know, this isn't moving.
Yeah.
Can you help me market it and such? And I said, well, help me understand what it is. And he explained it. And he said, and I asked urologists, and anytime I said, this is what I'm thinking, they were like, oh my God, that's a great idea. And I said, okay, but are they the decision makers? Would they be able to make that purchase? And he was like, well, I mean, it was clear he hadn't thought through the clinical, operational, financial implication of his invention. And I said, I'm sorry, I cannot help you. And the name of that article I wrote was, There Goes $1 Million.
I know. Yep.
And the reason I bring that up is, it was because his everyday work, he's like, God, if there were only I'll make that. And then he went out and made it, and he couldn't sell any of it. And that's why when I first came here, I was like, okay, so I mean, what? And obviously you're doing okay. And
we're doing.
And don't tell Beth about this because
she'll be so angry, right?
Now,
well, that's
Jonathan,
what happened at the flea market.
Many, many times, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yes. At the
all the time, all the time. I mean, and I think what's quite interesting is it's happened a lot for people who are going through transitions, like you are explaining. They've been in a world or an environment where they've been able to work quite effectively professionally, and then take a pause or take a moment. And sorry, I have a dog that's about to jump.
We love dogs here.
And that little hiatus, that little pause creates a moment or epiphany like, oh, why didn't I think of that? And it's just because you have the moment to think about it. What's interesting for me is you talk about retirement. When are you exiting out of this business? What are you going to do? Have you thought about integrating it or selling the technology into somebody who would integrate it into multiple tools? Imagine you go to every Lowe's or Home Depot and it's an integrated feature of every tool manufacturer or every garden center. Have you taken the idea beyond your original scope?
Well, we've been selling now for 4 years, and because this was bootstrapped with myself and my 2 sisters, we each put $7,000 in. We started with $21,000 to get our patents, to start our business, to get everything rolling. And we never wanted to go in debt, not at all. So we would only use as much money as we had for marketing as the money that came in. We don't owe a thing. We are not in debt by $1 because we didn't borrow anything. Now, also, I would say part of the reason it is successful is because we were a partnership of 3 sisters who trusted each other with everything. So we let the other person run with their position, myself marketing, my other sister Wendy, and my other sister Marilee, who's the bookkeeping and distributors. When we started this and we went to Home Depot, we went to the paint store, because it's amazing if you have to paint your whole house, it takes no grip, right? We went to all of these places, and they did, they thought it was an interesting idea, but there wasn't anybody that was super enthusiastic until we went and talked to the pediatricians, the pediatric therapists, the schools. That was so huge that we targeted our sales to that area. Do I think it's going to be great at the paint store? Yes. Do I think it's going to be amazing on blowers or anything you have to hold for a long period of time? It is. But as a new company, we are still targeting the 90% who are purchasing our product, who need it the most. So we do have areas that we want to go into, like licensing our product, and yeah, perhaps we've been asked to sell our company a couple of times now, especially since we were Amazon's top 6 women-owned businesses of the year last year.
Congratulations.
2019, and then we were top 18 overall small businesses of the year on
Wow,
Amazon.
you're really rich.
Hey, you know what? They didn't. we're not the top business for the most money earned. They did a survey and they were testing products to see who had the most community engagement, the least returns, most quality control, and the happiest customers. And then they looked at the product for relevance and inspiration, and that's why they chose Easy Hold as a.
Because of some kind of algorithm combination of all the things you just
No,
mentioned?
they did it. I think there was a group of people who actually looked, who wrote to us and asked us questions about our product and asked us where we supplied our product, who the people were, what kind of community outreach we did. And then they also just looked at our sales, and we have had, in 4 years of sales on Amazon, we've had hardly any returns. People hardly ever, they don't return our product. They find
What % of your sales are in America?
I would say it is, at this point, about 70% of our sales, 60% of our sales, 60%.
Any reason to believe that with appropriate support, you couldn't have?
Absolutely.
Is that part of the plan? In
yes,
fact,
it is part of the
someone
plan.
named Anonymous Attendee writes in, this would be so neat in international sales where most cannot afford $4,000 robotic arms.
Yeah. So we have 20 distributors right now, about 22 distributors around the globe, and growing. So we have them in Sweden,
How do you select them?
In the beginning, it was really interesting trying to get a distributor. This was quite a challenge it took us about a year. And it was kind of tricky. It was interesting. This might be interesting. We wanted to go to
interesting.
Okay. We wanted to go to an expo. It was called the Abilities Expo. And but I also wanted to get a distributor. And this was the first year we only had prototypes at that time. So I wrote in early to the person who was setting up the booths, and I said, I'd really like to pick my spot. And I picked my spot between North Coast Medical and Patterson Medical. Wanted to be in the middle because I had already had an experience with my sisters, who are kind of fun gals, and a booth at a smaller expo.
Why didn't you invite them onto the call?
I could do that.
She didn't want to ambush us.
It's an effective strategy, apparently.
Oh, it was effective because our booth is super colorful. I mean, we have it on toys, tools, we have it on musical instruments. You could put it on a violin, you can put it on drumsticks. We had all these toys everywhere and our colorful Easy Holds, right? And we knew what was going to happen. Our booth was jammed constantly with people trying them out, playing the instruments, pretending like they were eating, drinking from a bottle. I mean, there was just kids, adults, and Patterson and North Coast were like watching, hundreds of people come in every hour. And I was watching them out of the corner of my eye. And it's a 3-day expo. By the second day, North Coast came up and was giving me their card and walking me off and taking me places. And then Patterson, by the third day, kind of came over and stole me away from someone else that was talking and said, we're really interested in your product.
I have to tell you that I had to read the caption to know which person you were.
Okay, yeah, I'm in the purple.
Yeah, I figured that one out.
Yeah, we all look alike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kerry,
So
have
that was our
you
strategy.
tried any collaborative efforts with, for example, baby bottle manufacturers?
I have not. No, I have not done that, and that's maybe something I could look into.
Because they have enormous distribution, and all you got to do is talk to one person, basically.
I'm writing that down right now. Baby bottle manufacturers. We've had, we've actually.
I get 50% of that sale too.
50%. Okay.
Any good thing that comes out of this call, just.
Yeah. One of the first occupational therapists I showed this to was actually a mother of one of the Shark Tank originators. And So she's an occupational therapist. And so she said, this is amazing. This is amazing. I think they might like this on Shark Tank. And we actually did go on, my sisters and I went to on an open call, and they loved us. They loved it. They took a video of us and they asked us to send in another video. And we have made it through about three different tests. And then they said we were not right. And I've since found out that they really are not looking for disability products or ability products. I've since learned. But we thought it might be fun to be on that show at some point.
You mentioned that you've fielded some offers to buy your company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How
Yeah, there are
did
a
you-
couple of companies.
How did you evaluate these opportunities? I know
I did not evaluate. I didn't even go as far as evaluating yet, because I don't think we can properly evaluate us yet, because we have not tapped all of the market yet.
I promise you, you don't have to. You have to have an idea of what the market potential is and somebody to believe in what your evaluation is. That's it. If somebody believes that you're
10 years from now that you're going to be,
yeah,
and they are willing to pay the net present value of that, then you can retire a second time.
Yeah, I mean, I really wouldn't mind retiring a second time. Because
what would you do with your time?
Oh, everything I look at, I want to innovate. I have a lot of other ideas I'd love to bring to market, and so
well, that might be
on
the opportunity
who
to do
wants
so.
To work with Kerry. And
who does?
Make something successful. I get 50% of that.
50%. Yeah, I'm putting that down. God, this list is getting longer here.
Really, anything that happens because of this call. Hey, Bethy, we're going to be rich.
Joe, do you have any ideas? I mean,
None.
part of this was also my sisters and I are very creative. So we were able to do all of the initial prototyping, all of it. And the everything. We didn't spend a cent in the prototyping. So that saved us a lot of money and enabled us to, just start making money right away. Some of these prototypes that you were talking about, your friend, I was discussing this with my dentist from day one. And every time I went to him every 6 months to have my teeth cleaned or whatever, he would say, don't sink your money into this. I know so many people who lost their savings, lost their home for inventions. And here we are 6 years later, and he's still giving me advice like, don't quit your day job.
And then you say to him, how much do you want for your practice?
Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
Well, I know my wife and my risk profile is nothing like yours. I totally would have gotten Joey, someone's got a piece of plastic with holes. There's just, no,
Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to go stand in the hospital.
Yeah.
It's comical how quickly I would have been
Out of it. Yeah. When you think of so I'm an outdoors person also. I started this because I have horses. I needed to put it on my broom. I put it on my lead lines. I put it on my water bottle and then hook that to my saddle. I mean, I've come up with a zillion uses for it myself in my yard.
Well, if I had a garage full of this shit, I'd figure out places to put it all over my house too.
Yeah. Yeah.
How come Sonny and Romeo aren't on the call?
I've got a few videos where they're on the ride, and I'm showing how you can use it on the saddle and on the reins, and you actually use it on horse reins for therapeutic riding, also for children who don't have a grip. I didn't even mention that where this really shines is for people with limb loss or finger loss. So we sell quite a bit of this to the Veterans Hospital, and for children with, they call them lucky fins. So a child that doesn't have any fingers or even a hand can still ride a bicycle. You put these on the bicycle handlebar, and you just put the child's limb in far enough that it holds on, and it works perfectly. So we have a lot of children with limb loss who use these instead of, a robotic $5,000 hand. And a child with a finger disability or grip disability, every child deserves to hold a doll and brush its hair. whether or not they have fingers or
How many
a
people?
hand.
How many people do you count as W-2 employees? The three of you?
3. Just myself and my 2 sisters. We are employees of our own business. And then we have a part-time marketing person who helps us. So we run this whole company, just the 3 of us.
I'm
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
I'm imagining what if you had someone dedicated to
Yeah.
business development and sales?
Well, we are very nearly there. You know, this last year took us a little bit by surprise, becoming Amazon's, top women-owned business, 1 of 6. And so we're just kind of thinking about that now. I think some of our success has been our slow growth. We did not dive in over our heads. We have an attorney that we have on speed dial in case we ever see anything that looks similar, and she fires off a letter. We're growing slowly, and we want to maintain control of it. And I think that what happens if you grow too quickly is you can lose control of a simple item like this. So we've grown carefully. We've watched our pennies. We've never been in over our head financially. And I think that 2020 is going to become the year where we really grow exponentially. And we haven't decided how we're going to do that yet. And I'm open to suggestions. Anybody who have we have not wanted to get investors up to this point. We just haven't wanted to. But we are thinking about that now to really grow, hand over fist.
Jonathan, is this a phone call you'd like to have afterward?
Yeah, of course. I think I have some people that I can introduce you to that would help facilitate some of those goals. And I think, open your eyes to what the market behavior is for companies who have figured out an entry point and then need capital to enter in some of those other venues that you want to compete in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd be a pleasure to connect.
That would be amazing. I'd love that. Where are you located?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, you are. So you're local. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, it's been really interesting marketing our product this year, because one thing that has kept me very motivated is being able to go to those expos, do those in-services at hospitals. So I've been really disappointed. We usually go to the Abilities Expo, the Hand Therapist Convention, the Occupational Therapy, the Special Education Conventions, and it's so amazing to sit there and have teachers and students and people with challenges and different abilities come to actually be able to come up with new sizes and new ideas and new products specifically for them. I'm looking forward to this being over, as all of us are,
I got to tell you, the most memorable, most impactful moment in my professional career was when we had integrated a neuromodulator into somebody's forearm who could not lift a cup. And I'll never forget this. This person was able to reach out through the programming of the stimulator, reach out, grab a cup, hold it, and bring it to their mouth. And you could see the tears just rolling down their cheeks as they took grip of that cup. And it just, I was floored. I never forgot that. And I would just ask that, do you have video? Do you have things to express that type of emotion that is able, that you've seen and that you want to kind of renew, with COVID being kind of, pushing everyone into little corners and not engaging, with contact with people. I think a video of the things that you've achieved with those people would be very powerful.
As a storyteller, I couldn't agree more, might encourage you to consider telling your story better online than your present site does.
Yeah. Okay. We have our Facebook page. I agree. 100%. On our Facebook page, parents send videos weekly of their child drinking from a cup for the first time or riding a bike for the first time, drawing on facebook.com/easyhold. We have children doing something every day, and our marketing, you know, when we talk about how have we marketed.
12,000 people following your page.
Yeah, and those are all parents with a child who has done something for the first time, and they are blown away, and they write us letters, emails, phone calls, send us pictures on a daily basis of their child doing something for the first time.
Oh,
It's,
this is
So when you hit those emotional buttons,
yeah.
you tell them, get a grip and refer us to other people.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly right. That's how we started. We started with a group of moms with children with cerebral palsy, and the word went like wildfire. I mean, these moms just emailed like crazy, and we had sales, you know, like crazy in the first 6 months. We had people on a waiting list to buy the product because of the mothers' word of mouth. Yeah, that's been the most profound, you know, like you said, we went to the Abilities Expo, and there was a parents who came up and said, my son is over there. He dove off a diving board and broke his neck. He was a drummer. He has not been able to drum now for a year. He won't even come over here, but he saw these drumsticks, and it's really incredible to use a drumstick for someone with maybe ALS, because it has this really nice recoil. It's super, super soft. So she said, can we just take them over to him? He doesn't want to come. She took the drumsticks over to him. He put them on, and he was crying. He was crying. She brought him back over. He was crying because he said, oh my goodness, I really can. I can play the drums again. And so we've had that many, many times over, where people are very excited to get back to an activity they'd done prior to a traumatic injury, whether it was bike riding again or painting. You know, a lot of women and men lose, I say women mostly because it has been women mostly, are fine artists. And once they've had a stroke or arthritis, they're no longer holding a paintbrush. So it makes a huge difference in kind of the use it or lose it factor. If you don't continue to use those muscles, those joints, through
Sure, they atrophy.
pain, yeah, you got to keep.
And quite severely.
Yep. So it's really easy to hold a paintbrush with no grip, no fingers, no hand. It's very simple. You know, you can do it any way you need to. Yeah, so it's seeing those.
I think you have a lot of tools in your designer's toolbox, and I think you have the ability to wield those quite powerfully, not just for the core market that you're serving right now, but for several other markets where maybe hand grip fatigue is very common, like in gardening or things like that.
Yeah, even things like I mean, I know that there are factories where people have to wield a hose all day long. Just the act of gripping a hose all day long can cause repetitive motion injury. So something like this on a hose where they're hosing meat markets down, 24/7. We haven't even dove into that yet. I always see my gardener with his hand on the blower, gripping that big blower. I gave him one of these and now I see him using that.
Yeah, the integration of those, I mean, the obvious thing is, okay, could you go to all those people and try to convince all those people, or convince the blower manufacturer that this is going to help limit their workman's compensation liability, integration in a lawsuit? There's some tactics that will help open the door to that discussion.
We have to get you to join Premium because A, I need the $39, and B, we got a lot of smart people here to.
Absolutely. I'm joining Premium.
Yay. Sandy, you had a question.
So people with Parkinson's, they've been using these spoons. They've been coming up with these high-tech spoons
A little louder.
that don't shake. And, so using something like this for people with Parkinson's would be pretty good. I mean, rather than using these high-tech spoons, which, they have to come up with a way of making sure it doesn't shake, and there's an overage which happens, cereal falls off, etc.
Yeah. Yeah. These work with the weighted spoons, the weighted Parkinson spoons. They'll stretch over any size adaptive equipment. And I know there are these Parkinson smart spoons, which actually the bowl will twist with you as you move it. So this works really well with the weighted spoons or the built up handles. Yeah, for Parkinson's patients, ALS.
Eddie, you had a suggestion?
Yeah, just if you, I don't have any thoughts on this right at the moment, but if you can think of applications in the sailing industry to help people with grip there, make sure that you increase your price by about 500%.
Oh,
Okay?
that's an interesting.
Because
yeah.
that's what they're used to. Okay?
Okay.
A little screw that looks completely normal. You go into a chandlery, it's $25.
All right, I know a sailor friend. I better send this pack over to them right now and
Okay.
see what he can do with it on. Are you a sailor?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your address? A pack is coming your way.
I live in the UK.
That's okay. We sell to the UK.
Great. Well, and I've got
You're
some
going to bring
old
me-
in-laws, so I'm sure we'll find some applications for them.
That sounds good.
Okay, his address.
Yes, Joe, you're getting a percentage of that. Even though it's free, I'll send it to him.
Okay. Mark, you had a question too.
Oh, two things. How are you going to keep the Chinese from ripping you off and selling it for cheap on eBay or Alibaba?
Well, you know, interestingly enough, that we manufacture our product in China right now. So our molds are there now. It's been a little bit challenging with Trump's tariffs, 30% tariffs, right? We could be doing a whole lot better than we are. We did not raise our prices when we got the 30% tariffs because we're selling to people with disabilities. So I would say this has been a challenge to make a lot of profit this year, but we're going to.
You know, I'm sure someone on the call, many on the call came to that, but I didn't even think
Yeah.
about Chinese tariffs hurting you.
Oh yes, 30% is the amount that we pay for the tariffs. You know, I know that Trump says they're paying tariffs, but it's not. We pay them.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, but anyway, they did try to kind of. I have a part-time marketer who kind of trolls the internet, and she came up with one company who was stealing our images, using our images to say that they had this product. It turns out they didn't actually, it was Alibaba actually. They didn't actually make our product yet. They were just trolling for sales, but they couldn't seem to get the sales or, and so they never actually made our product. They tried, and we tried to buy it, and we found out from them that we tried to buy it as just an independent person. And we found out that, oh, well, you have to order, you know, $10,000 worth or something of that nature. So they were going to only start making them if they got a big order. And they never got a big order, as far as I know.
So
I think the
had a friend-
fundamental answer to your question is that it's the brand. If you have a brand that's associated with all of these success stories and all of these people, that's the brand that's trusted, and that's the brand that people will buy.
I'm hoping that's the case. Yeah.
I was going to say, excuse me, I have a friend who was manufacturing a medical device in China, and they couldn't figure out why some shipments were late. And they went to China and they found out that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the company was making the device for them. And Tuesday and Thursday, they were using the same molds and everything, putting their name on it and selling it. So I don't think they've got any qualms against ripping off.
No, they don't. I'm not sure that that my product isn't there. And we've heard this since day one, but that is the thinking that stops small companies, that stops innovation. So I don't need to have all the sales all over the world. I've got my patents, enough patents. Now I won't be able to defend them everywhere. I know that it's expensive, but in the US, if we just sell in the US, we will be fine. I can't really think about that. I know it will be ripped off, but as you were saying earlier, it's the brand that people trust. Those materials that they use there are not going to be 100% FDA approved silicone that's, you know, hygienic and clean and made in a clean factory. And the factory that we are using, they are a reputable US company who is our liaison. So we also pay extra to have a liaison here. We use Oil Seals in Lake Forest, and they've been making rubber products for the medical industry, for automobile industry for, you know, 50 years or more. So we use them as our liaison. We trust them. We've been with them with day one. In fact, when we were going back to it was a challenge to be a woman-owned small business. It took us 6 months to find someone to make our prototypes for us, to make our first run, because we kept sending it out either with my name, you know, Kerry Mellin or Merrily Mellin. My sister's name is Merrily. She would send out our CAD files and, can you make us a run of 1,000 of these? For 6 months, we sent them out with her name, Merrily Mellin. Nobody answered our emails. No one. Then we sent them out with her husband's name, Jeff Mellin. And we got, I don't know, 10 responses the next week. So I don't know if that was just, I'm not sure what it was, but there are little things like this that kind of a thread that ran through when we went to get open up our bank account for our business. Oh no, you have to have your husband's name. Do you have a husband? Can you get up? No, we're not going to do that. Anyway, it was interesting. When we finally found All Seals, they have been fantastic from day one, and we trust them. They kind of monitor what's happening with their factories, and we're optimistic.
I was going to say one other thing.
I didn't realize that the person who signed in as Merrily was one of the owners, so I promoted her to be on our panel as well.
Oh, good. Hi, Meryl.
So I was going to just say that one of the biggest medical meetings in the world is Medica in Dusseldorf every November, and I've been to lots of them. It is an incredible opportunity. I mean, it's almost overwhelming, not only to sell your devices, but to find distribution.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's called Medica.
What happens again?
Medica, and that is in where?
Dusseldorf.
Yeah.
Dusseldorf. Meryl, do you want to take a trip to Dusseldorf in what
One
month?
day when it's safe to do so.
When it's safe, it's every November.
November. Yeah.
This one.
That would be amazing. Yeah, we have 20 distributors, and we can always use more. We can definitely use more distributors. Yeah.
Well, and the beauty is that you create a platform for all those distributors to seek out other clients, because, you know, if you have a distributor from Belgium or from the Netherlands, they will be there, they will be seeing clients, and they will actually make a lot of sales. And then you get the benefit of having all that activity at the booth, and you can then consequently meet people from Dubai, people from who knows where. You know, it doesn't matter. It's a very, very, very overwhelmingly large event.
Really, I would love to go to that. There was another one that someone mentioned yesterday, was the music. There is an instrument conference or expo, because this can go on so many, for music therapy, it can go on a lot of instruments. So we were also thinking about that.
Now I'm a little nervous for you about focus.
Oh, I know. Well, I know. You're right. You're right. No, you're
music,
absolutely right.
We've got medical, we've got sailing. Alan, you had a suggestion. Thank you, Mark.
Oh, I mean, I don't know how relevant it is, but if you're truly running into a lot of issues with tariff issues with China, then, you know, probably a better close to home option that might have similar manufacturing capabilities would be Mexico, and
Or Costa Rica.
almost guaranteed not to have tariff issues with it, because, you know, they assigned USMCA. They have a younger demographic than China, so they should have an ongoing workforce, and they also are demographically a consumer-based economy versus like China, which is a rapidly aging society.
Have you considered alternative geographies for manufacture?
We have.
And by the way, Joanne, a member, I didn't make a panelist because she doesn't have a webcam, but she's going to get one, right? Asked what would it do to the price if you were to move manufacturing to the U.S.?
Well, yeah, it's really expensive to move to the US. To start with, the molds are, you know, a mold is about $350 in China, and it's about, you know, $10,000 here, $13,000.
Isn't that a one-time expense though?
Yeah, but we have, you know, we have 13 SKUs, so it would be 13 molds. So you know, we're kind of trying to stick it in there, and hopefully in November, our tariffs will go away. Or
January at least.
Yeah, January. But yes, I've heard Mexico before, and so they are a relevant place for medical devices and silicone manufacturing. Yeah, Mexico. Well, we definitely have discussed it. When the tariffs came into play, my sisters and I were discussing whether or not we should. But Mexico, again, the molds are quite expensive also. Yeah. We hadn't thought it. We were weighing, you know, $13,000 a mold for 11 or 13 SKUs, or weighed out the tariffs. And we waited out the tariffs so far. But yeah, it would be nice to have it closer to home.
Joanne, I did promote you. You want to tell her what you wrote afterward? If she can, and if she can't, I'll read it to you. She said, if you own the mold in China, can't you send it to the US?
Not really, because the machines they use aren't compatible with the machines here. We've talked to all seals about that, and they say that the machines there are not machine compatible here. I'm not quite sure if that is the truth, but that is what we heard from our manufacturer. Also, our manufacturer, they're not going to be, I love them, but I don't think that they're going to be, you know, happy about us going somewhere else. And so they wouldn't, I don't think they would really facilitate getting these.
Joanne, did you have anything to add now that we got your mic live?
No, I kind of was disconnected, so I missed a little bit of the conversation. But so what I kind of heard was that you can't send those molds here to the US because they're not compatible. Mm-hmm. Have you even asked other manufacturers if those molds can be used? And are you dual sourcing? So in other words, you've got this one manufacturer making it for you, but do you have a different manufacturer in case they get shut down for any reason?
We do not. All Seals has used 2 different manufacturers in China. So they have been able to facilitate moving our molds locally there in China. So we've had 2 different manufacturers there. We don't have anyone else in any other country. Yeah, we should probably look into that. I have a couple of new SKUs and new designs that I'd like to do. We have several different iterations, even some with that are a Y-shaped for holding camera equipment and things like pliers or scissors. So we have a couple of different iterations and designs we'd like to do. And so we've just recently been talking about going to possibly to the Philippines or now Mexico. Now I've heard that several times. So
York?
Yeah, there are a lot of molders. This is York. A lot of molders, you know, obviously nobody wants to lose your business. So, yeah. You know, that's completely understandable. But a lot of molders will have tools made in China because their labor costs are so low, and then transport them to the US. There's people like that, or transport them to Mexico or anywhere you want. Obviously, generally, you probably make new tools when you do that. But again, you can make them for a low cost there and transport them. And a lot of molders have that. Silicone molding is also a fairly straightforward process. I think you have a lot of choices. Mm-hmm. And so I think.
Or can you help her?
No, I mean, well, no, I can't. I'm not a manufacturer, so I can't really help you there. But I know that, you know, this is a game that's always played. Yeah. Because I've seen so many products being made where, oh yeah, we can't, the tools aren't compatible, and you know, they all say that. So it's not like, but it's, I understand they don't want to lose your business.
Yeah. We had a hard time making these to start with because our durometer is very, very soft. There were lots of people that could do it here if the durometer wasn't as soft as it was. So Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, softer durometer actually makes it easier, really. I mean, your tooling costs, you could actually use aluminum tooling or some other things that might make it work better. But in any case, I just think you probably as your company matures, I think the other lady, I forgot her name, brought up a good point, is having a dual source or start developing other sources so that you're not dependent on one thing or a giant tariff or God knows what could happen. So start, as your company matures, you can start planning that out. And there are lots of options for you, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted to chime in again?
Yeah.
Joanne? Do I need to unmute you again or something? Where is she?
Well, Yorker's right. I've been down to some of these plants in Mexico. They are gorgeous. I mean, some of them put us to shame. They're so well put together. We have long-standing, very stable trade relationships with Mexico, as well as Canada, but Mexico is your cost-effective choice. And I'm working with a client right now, and I think we're working on our third or fourth product where we had the molds made in China, and then they got sent over here for manufacturing. So it's exactly like that.
So when you, so we have a liaison, of course, All Seals, that works with China. So we couldn't ask All Seals to send us our molds because, that means that we're going elsewhere. So I think that boat has sailed. But so do you have any names of people in Mexico that we might be able to?
I don't
Actually,
have.
there's a group member. His name is Jose Garza, and he's in Chicago, but he represents a significant Mexican enterprise.
Oh, wonderful.
And you can look in our archives for the call that he led.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Joanne, you wanted to add something?
Kerry, I would say that if you ask them to have a mold and just tell them, we want to keep it in-house in the event that your company becomes destroyed for any reason and you can't do anything, then we don't lose our business. So having it in, a backup in-house for any reason is a wise thing.
Yeah, I should also, to add to what Joanne's saying, is that I do know of, it happened in 2 instances that I'm aware of, where the Chinese manufacturer was shut down by their own government for, some, they didn't comply. China is different, right? They come in and they can actually shut a factory in a day, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
And so I've had one company that made a complex. They actually made a Pilates machine, so it was a more complex, expensive product. They lost all their tooling, all their products, all their inventory, and they had to start completely over. It took them 2 years to start their business over, essentially.
Yeah.
So those kinds of things, the laws are different there. Things are not like they are here. So
yeah, we became very aware of their Chinese New Year, how that shuts everything down.
yeah,
And
that can happen.
My sister Marilee is
very shy and refused to come on. Go on.
Oh, she did? Oh, Marilee.
I got a lot of black screen and no microphone. I kept pushing the come on, and she kept saying no.
Oh, Marilee, I got to text her and tell her to get on. Oh, she doesn't want to get on. Okay. She's got her hair up in a bun, but probably. But she has been, she does all our ordering from All Seals, so she knows how sticky they can be in China for getting us our products. So she orders well in advance. They did shut down the plant for early on. I think it was in January and February, for 2 months, and we were a little worried, but we actually had enough product on hold, so we only lost selling 1 SKU for about 2 weeks. But that is all really good advice, folks. Yeah.
What equipment they're running these molds on also. So what kind of equipment is needed to put this mold into? And then what's the cost to maybe even have other types of equipment? Is their equipment really old? That it's at risk of breaking down, things like that, knowing what their processes are. And have you ever audited the facility? their facility?
I have not personally. I believe that All Seals has, and that's why they switched factories at one point. We do our own quality. All Seals does the quality control, and then when it comes to my sister and I, we still package everything. We package it ourselves. We noticed that the quality was not that what we were looking for. We saw little flecks of color change. We're very careful about these colors. My sister is an artist, and she picked these colors specifically. And then because we wanted to be able to recognize our Easy Holds from any other ones, and that's a way we know we can do that, because these are a very special color that that is our own. It's our own secret ingredient.
That's smart.
But if their materials are subpar, you know, you don't go visit the facility and their materials are not good, the equipment's old, they don't do Kappa, you know, things like that. And I'm sure you know what Kappa is.
I do not.
It's corrective and preventive actions. So if the equipment breaks down, you know, if the material is not good and working right, then you don't know the material quality unless you know their facility and how they're dealing with their issues and how they fix them. I've audited in Mexico and where, you know, they have these equipment issues and they don't fix things. So they'll write up a Kappa, but they never follow through to actually even fix it. So the material is, you know, you could have material that is not the quality that you think it is. That makes sense?
Yes, it does. Absolutely. Well, it's interesting because we did notice about our fourth order, we noticed the Easy Holds becoming a little bit harder, not as soft. Mm-hmm. And so we sent them back to All Seals and said, look, this isn't the quality we want or we need. And they ate it and went back to the manufacturer and did that quality control. Do I hope that we can actually not have that go-between, that person in between and then go to China ourselves? One reason I know that we became successful as a small bootstrap company was because we found people that had trusted relationships with manufacturers. I don't speak Chinese. I don't know anything about manufacturing, so I paid a premium for our product. So we know that we can, you know, make quite a bit more in profit if there isn't that go-between person, but that go-between person also made it possible for us to start this company and not have any runs that we had to pay for out of our own pocket that were mistakes.
And that was the right strategy. I mean, I think that's actually smart.
Yeah.
But as you scale, right, then you have the opportunity to do more and take over more and get more of that profit. So
that's where Joanne's information comes in really handy. Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed about 5 minutes ago, I've had a steady kind of smirky smile on my face, and it's just me loving this community and how, like, everyone who jumped on had something different, a different angle to suggest. It's just.
I've made a lot of notes. Yeah.
And I've made a lot of money. So this has really worked out for everybody. Let's call it here. We're almost at an hour and a half.
Okay.
But everyone, welcome Kerry. She's our newest member.
Yay! I'm very excited.
And, you can reach out to her directly if you wanted to share something, and she seems most receptive. Yeah. And if you're good, she may even send you some product.
Absolutely. You know, can I say my email address is Kerry, Kerry, @easyhold.com, and that's with a Z. Anybody who I've talked to today that wants a pack, you know, just hit me up, and I'll send you a pack so you can see what I'm working with and any ideas or suggestions.
And I would suggest that you forget what she just said, because email is arcane, and you can hit her on Slack on MDG Premium. Thanks for watching, folks. Thank you, Kerry. This was great.
Thank you.
Learned a lot.